everyone. I am here with the stunning and talented, I could go down the list, Tina Guo, who is an entrepreneur, phenomenal cellist. You are a woman who holds many cards. Many would wish that they could balance your lifestyle, Tina. But for those of you who don't know Tina, she has performed with some incredible artists from the Foo Fighters at the Grammys, Carrie Underwood at the AMAs, Cirque du Soleil, and of course Hans Zimmer. The list pretty much goes on. Tina, I think I might be here for a long time because you have done so many fun collaborations and so many fun projects in your lifetime. But I want to get into how you started from the beginning on this music journey.
Sure. It's very nice to be here. Thank you for having me. I was forced into the family trade. That's the honest truth of how I started music. It was actually not my choice. I don't know what I would have gone into, maybe like food tasting or food decorating or something else. But both of my parents are classical music teachers. And I mean, literally just forced me to practice every day from the time I started cello at age 7 for 8 hours a day. And I always say, I think if anyone does anything for 8 hours a day, you naturally get good at it. And so, people ask me this, and I think they're always surprised because they expect me to say, like, oh, it's something that I was really passionate about. I saw it on TV and I wanted to play. It was actually the opposite. So, like, my journey with the cello, I think all of these years, I'm almost 40 now, right? So it's taken like three
You
decades
look
for
like
me to
you're in your
find.
early 20s, Tina.
Thank
There's
you.
no way.
Thank you. I feel like I get more and more immature as I age, so it's perfect. But it's taken me like 30 years really to find the joy in music, to find my own voice, because it started off as something I didn't have a choice in, right? And so, I studied classical cello. I was very lucky in that because I had forced daily lessons, I think my progress was a bit faster than, I guess, normal kids who had maybe lessons once a week, not like twice a day. And I started soloing and performing professionally from, I think I was 11 years old for the first time I played a concerto with an orchestra. Um, but
11
I do
years
have to,
old. I think I was just doing
yeah,
Girl Scouts, Tina. That was about it. I was selling
I wish
cookies.
I did. I wish. But no, I mean, looking back, I am, of course, grateful, for that training because it does make it possible when you have those 10,000 hours of, repetitive training and whatever it is that you do. It is very important. And honestly, I wouldn't have done it, so I guess I am grateful for that. And then I went to college for classical cello because that's what I was offered a scholarship in. And my parents couldn't afford to like pay for my college, and so I'm like, okay, I guess I'll be a cellist.
I
So like
totally
that's how,
understand you. I was a
yeah, and
volleyball. I played volleyball in college because my parents told me, listen, like, we don't have a
yeah,
savings fund for you. Like, figure it out.
right,
So you got to do what you got to do to pay for
yeah,
school.
yeah, exactly. And that's awesome that you had a volleyball scholarship. So mine's not as cool. It's much more dorky, but I had a cello scholarship.
Very
But
cool.
I do have to say that was 2004. And it was when YouTube, it was very early days of YouTube, and that was the first time I was actually allowed access to the internet. Because like the internet, of course, was like invented when I was a little younger, but my parents were so strict, so I wasn't allowed to see anything, to listen to anything like that wasn't classical. I was raised in such a conservative, like chokehold, confining situation that just made me want to like burst out. And
Mm-hmm.
going to college, leaving home, I started actually watching YouTube videos of like heavy metal guitar players, and industrial metal, and I really resonate, and I still do. I just love like heavy dark music. If you want to psychoanalyze it, or I mean, I'm obviously not a trained therapist, but I would say that obviously it's a reflection of how I felt as a kid, just so much like
A little
internal, like,
rebellious.
yeah, I mean, it was more the rebellion. I would say it was like, I mean, this sounds dramatic, but I would say it's like rage, you know, like rage,
Yeah. I
anger.
come from the
Um,
grunge area of Seattle, so I was
yeah,
Nirvana, super
yeah.
deep indie kind of girl growing up. That was kind of my aesthetic music taste.
Love it, love it. And so like I mean just aside from like their personal stuff as people or whatever they may have done or not done and whatnot, but just purely on a musical perspective, like my favorite bands, I love Marilyn Manson. I love Rammstein, it's like a German industrial band. So it's just like dark and heavy, the darker the better, right? And
Wow, Tina. I
um
never would have
yeah,
pinned you for Marilyn Manson. I just remember as a kid, I thought it was so crazy because I remember they were like, oh, he took one of his ribs out. I was like, whoa, Marilyn's crazy.
yeah,
That's insane. But yeah, I
yeah.
love that that's
Yeah.
one of your influences.
Yes, like again, it's just like the energy, like everything. I mean, music is energy, right? Sound waves. And so for me, I think the more dramatic, like dark stuff, I just kind of resonate with more, or really romantic and beautiful, just anything like dramatic, right? And so that's when I kind of started experimenting. I was able to, through some student credit cards from USC, purchase my first electric cello because I was like, oh God, I wish I played the guitar. I wish I was cool like that. Not that cello's not cool. No offense to any string players. Very cool. But back in those days, I just wanted to like, I was playing classical music and doing that and practicing 8 hours a day or whatever, doing all of that stuff. But I was like, how do I break free? How do I do what I know how to do, which is play the cello, and be able to break free into like just something else, something that I feel that expresses myself. And that's when kind of the experimental phase started. But as you know, as everyone knows, it's not like an overnight thing where suddenly something happens. Like I really was like confused and felt very lost and trying to figure out what on earth I was doing with this electric cello for years. So I think it took me about, I would say 6 or 7 years before I didn't sound like absolute dog poop. Because because I was learning about like guitar effects. I use like effects pedals before and amps now, effects processors, but none of that you learn about from a traditional classical background. I mean, it was such a completely different universe, and it was fun, frustrating fun to play around with. So that's kind of like I know it's a very broad picture of like how that process started.
Well, especially, I mean, it wasn't necessarily like you could click on a YouTube search page and say, listen, like, these are my interests. Show me somebody who can play the electric cello this way in this format. And I feel like that world also must have a lot of standards where it's kind of like you need to play the cello like this. And if you do this,
Exactly.
then you won't
Yeah.
be as accepted in the community. So, were there some barriers as well that you had to deal with when you were kind of creating this new path for yourself?
Oh my gosh, of course. Like people thought I was crazy. I mean, the amount of I have to say hate comments and negativity from actually from like my fellow students at USC just
Oh.
because they were all very traditional classical you know, cl- classical people who like definitely also did not appreciate. Also, I remember I was taking like selfies before the selfie was a word,
Wow.
not to be like, ooh, look at me, but just I was
Yeah.
like posting videos of myself experimenting with playing and pictures, and it was just something I did naturally because I thought, well, there's this thing called Facebook, which at the time was just a way to connect with your fellow students. Like USC was one of
You
the
had
first
to
test
have
groups.
a college email too,
Yeah,
you remember?
yeah, like super early on, but I thought, oh,
Yeah.
cool, this is a great way to like connect with people. And remember people also saying like, why are you adding me? Like, who are you? I'm like, oh, I thought this was like the purpose of but there, especially when I started experimenting, I think also not just sonically but visually, because I love like the visual of performance, right? I guess it's kind of like cosplaying, and again, going back to childhood, like I never had any Halloween costumes. I basically wasn't allowed to do anything, and so I remember like
Wow.
at school on Halloween every year, I would see the other kids, and they have such cool like I'm like, oh God, I wish I could like dress up and live in this like fantasy world. And I think as I was in college and I was like, okay, well, maybe I can like dress up when I play. And especially like you mentioned that it's a very strict um I mean, again, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful art form, but it's a very, very like within these parameters. And if you go out of
Mm-hmm.
them, it's like, like what is that? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing that I loved about the electric cello because at the time there were a few electric cello players that have been doing stuff, but I would say not anything super mainstream. Apocalyptica, of course, and they're my friends now. They play on acoustic cellos, but amplified and with pedals. Like they're the godfathers of cello metal, and it's actually not announced yet, but I'm going to be a guest with them at this metal festival. That's like one of the appearances I'm making,
Wow.
which is super
Talk about a
exciting. It's
full
like full
circle
circle.
moment, Tina.
Yeah, full circle. I'm so excited. But other than them, like as far as the actual electric cello, oh, you can't really see it. It's behind me. There really wasn't anyone else doing it, which there was a lot of electric violin players, but as far as the electric cello, um, and that was a good thing because when there is no paved road, you can do whatever you want. And I think that's what gave me also like the impetus, maybe, right, to experiment and whatnot, because no one could say it was bad because
Mm-hmm.
what is bad, what is good. And I think for me, it was also like luck, hard work and all of that is important, but it was also lucky for me, the timing, that I just happened to explore this, move to LA at this time. YouTube had just come out. It was very early days. No one else was really doing like heavy metal, electric cello or whatever. So,
They were probably doing
um,
cat videos while you were doing something like that. Yeah, it's like I was probably
maybe
making cat videos in my dorm room, and you're over here just killing it on the electric
no, no, no. Oh
cello.
my gosh, no, no. And like I think it was partially like wanting to just break free, whatever that means. But also tr I was also trying to like get gigs, of course, because I had a
Mm-hmm.
scholarship for the tuition, but it didn't cover living expenses. And so a part of like what actually helped me develop, I think, learning to play other genres of music too. And that kind of parlays into my day job, as I call it. And again, very lucky that I get to use the same skill, the same instrument for that. But like working in soundtracks for TV, video games, movies, playing with other artists, like it's really important that you're able to play basically at any genre like instantaneously, right? It sounds a little like
Mm-hmm.
scary, but that's kind of like the culture of the studio culture of being a professional studio musician, which I always say that's my day job. Aside from like my own artist stuff, it like funds my own creative things, and I was like, how am I going to make money? Like, I can't, I got to pay for food. I have to pay for my dorm.
Isn't it
So
funny a full scholarship, Tina? You think it's a full scholarship till you get your first check, and then you realize
Mhm.
it barely pays for all the essentials and necessities that you need. And you're
Yeah,
like, wait, how is it that I need more money?
yeah, I know. Or even I remember the first semester, like the shock of the books, like how much a books cost was almost $900. And at the time, I was like, what the, like, how am I? Yeah, so it was like panic, right? Like immediate
Yeah.
panic. And so I started putting up ads on Craigslist, like 3 times a day. Like I'm very OCD with everything. 3 times a day, like offering cello services available. I started playing sadly, a lot of funerals because, like, cellos maybe it lends itself well to like sad,
Funerals,
sonorous
yeah.
music. Yeah, and so I played funerals, weddings, bar mitzvahs, bar mitzvahs, like anything you can imagine. I was teaching piano students, like just random,
The
random stuff.
hustle,
Uh,
Tina. Now I know why you're so
I,
successful. I mean, you really set, I always say, you really truly need to set yourself up for success. And sometimes when
yeah,
you go through these experiences or hardships like yourself, you were
yeah.
preparing yourself for later in life. And,
I,
now,
I can't take credit. Like I wasn't because of me. It was just because I was broke and
yeah, I
desperate.
mean,
So, yeah, like I didn't have a
as much
choice,
as you
right?
can look back and you're like, man, that was hard. Because I even look back at my life
Yeah,
and like how many jobs I have. But now I'm like, it
yeah,
prepared me to balance and
yeah,
juggle all these different things. Of course, I would have loved to have woken up every day like, oh, I don't have to worry about, my day to day
yeah.
bills, like paying for gas.
Right, right. But no, but Dev, I do think it makes us stronger, obviously,
Yeah.
right? And like, great. It's wonderful when people are like born into circumstances that are comfortable. But we just get the cards that we're dealt. We have to make the best of it. And
Hmm.
the way I look at it, which is, always finding the bright, the bright side, even like. oh, there's water in the glass, even if there's like one drop, right? Like, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll
there's
take
water there.
it. I'll
Um,
take it.
and like part of the Craigslist thing, right? So I did all kinds of weird stuff, and
Good
then
old
but I
Craigslist. I don't
oh
even know if
Craigslist,
some
yeah.
kids these days know what Craigslist is, but listen, that was the go-to stop for a lot of things, finding a place
It,
to live, getting furniture,
yeah,
selling furniture.
a dating section. I mean, there's
Yes.
everything, right? Like
Yes.
job listings. And I did start playing with a lot of different like indie artists, right? On the Hollywood Sunset Strip before some of the clubs closed down. And like I was for like $50 a night, right? Which barely covered gas and
Wow.
parking, but and I would like play with whoever like
Who would
offered
play
to
with
hire
you?
me. Yeah, and so I
You
played,
were like
I'm not very good
before
at
collaborations
country, but
happened, Tina. You were like
yeah, yeah.
like so pre, which is kind of crazy to think about. Like you were collaborating so early on.
I guess I didn't think of it that way, but I guess, and like, every people
Yeah.
were like, well, it's her again. It's just like,
We know her.
like, it's just like randomly popping up with like country artists, like with a rapper, like with a rock band, with like, and I think, I played with a lot of like great art bands, a lot of terrible bands. Obviously, it's so long ago I can say that, but it was good training for me to like have no ego, right? To go into stuff to
Hmm.
figure out how to, um, play, with different musicians and different genres of music. And that actually, unbeknownst to me, really, I think prepared me well for just being able to be a little bit of a chameleon, like musically, which
Yeah.
helps again, like the day job or whatnot of being able to provide cello services in any style instantaneously. So yeah, and it was like a way for me to just grow and hear other kinds of music because again, like I had only heard classical and opera basically, like until I was 18 because I wasn't allowed to listen to anything else except for stuff I accidentally heard on the radio or little things here and there. So.
Yeah. It's just
Mhm.
this little kind of bubble that you finally got to burst it a little bit as soon as you went to college. And I mean, the music
Yeah,
industry, Tina, is just so competitive. So I'd love to
it
just kind
is.
of know how you navigated through the competitiveness of,
Yeah.
the music world and being able to just be found.
Right, right. Um, so I like, okay, now that I'm a little not old at all, but like older, because I've been grinding for, I guess, well, since I started maybe like 30 years, but let's say 20 years, since I came
Hmm.
to LA. But I would say first that work-life balance in the beginning, I think that's like a myth if you really want to grind hard enough. And so like I mentioned, I was in school full time at the time, practicing 8 hours a day, right? And then spending like 2 hours a day, like playing along with random YouTube videos of like with Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, like different guitar players to try to figure out like what are they playing, like what is this stylistically, and even after college, so I was working like 7 days a week, and if I wasn't hired to do something, I was still practicing. And I think just saying yes to everything, and honestly, really was like outworking, outworking people.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, I was exhausted, but I think again that drive also came partially from just the necessity of having to make money, right? So it
Hmm.
really, I think I'm very grateful to have had that little fire under my butt because if I was comfortable,
Yeah.
yeah, like why on earth would anyone do that? And so I think like coming from that and also from a childhood where I basically was raised in a boot camp. I'm not gonna paint it over to pretend everything was like great. It was terrible, it was really
Yeah.
terrible. I was miserable.
Hmm.
But
You had to
to
grow up
come from,
extremely fast at such an early age, it sounds
yeah,
like.
yeah, and I think to be raised in that environment, when you come out into the real world, in a way, it actually seemed easier. Where it's like, where some people be like, "Oh God, it's so hard." I'm like, "What are you talking? You
You're
think this
over
is
here
hard?
like you have
You
no
have like
clue what my day to
no,
day look
you
like.
have no, yeah, you have no idea." And not to be unempathetic or anything like that, but like as far as like you said, it's so competitive, right? So
Hmm.
the number one thing I always tell people, because yeah, okay, now it's like I post stuff or whatnot, but posting and social media and like marketing is just it's the wrapping, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you get hired to for example be a session musician, people ask me how to get into that business. I'm like, are you a good player? Do you play in tune? Can you sight read immediately? Are you technically proficient? Can you play like like it's not about playing fast, but if needed, can you play faster and cleaner than anyone else? Like, and they're like, oh God, that's so much. But yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
I think the number one thing is like the core skill has to be there, and that requires just hours, of practice. It's like, and I still do it. Like, I'm here, like when I'm preparing for stuff, like right now, this week and next week, like I want to go out and like it's beautiful outside. I want to go hang
Mm-hmm.
out or go to the mall or I don't know what people do, but
Yeah.
like I have to practice,
Yeah.
and so that is a really important thing. And then as far as like branding or networking. I for a while I stopped doing it because like scheduling, like I have too much on my plate. But I was doing even brand consultations for a while with like clients, with creative professionals, mostly composers and musicians, on how to grow their brand, like in the industry that kind of became accidentally my specialty. And I told them it's like everyone's different. Like I know a lot of people like network and whatever, they go to events and whatnot, and it works for them. But I only know what works for me, which was I didn't have like time or resources to go to events, right? So for me, I call it the dangle the carrot method. So imagine I have a little carrot here.
I love
And like
that.
it's a psychological energetic thing, right? So I feel like if like say people, consumers are the bunnies are the rabbits, right? Their little ears waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you take your carrot and everyone else has a carrot too, and you're just shoving it and please eat my carrot. Oh my God, hire me. Blah, blah. Like it's like it's almost like dating when someone's too like desperate. Like it really like I don't know about you, but it's like off-putting
Mm-hmm.
a little you know. And so again, like for me, I was always focusing on like myself, so turning the energy internally. So I'm like, how can I get better? Okay, I wrote, I recorded this song, like how can I present it to people? Because I remember before I made my first music video and posted it on YouTube, which was a really big turning point in how Hans found me and a bunch of other composers. I would tell people like, oh yeah, I play the electric cello and I play heavy metal, right? And people would, it was like proverbial, like, oh, that's cute, that's nice, okay,
Yeah,
whatever,
kind of way over
because
their heads a little bit. Like, wait a second.
yeah, or no, or also like just because so many people talk and there's no
Exactly.
product or whatever, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I
Nothing to
was just
show
one of those
for.
people. Yeah, and I realized I was one of those people, like even though I had every intention of doing it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think again, focusing internally, and then it took me. So the very first music video that I uploaded onto YouTube was called Queen Bee. It was like 2009, right? 2000, gosh, so long ago. And it's a heavy metal version of The Flight of the Bumblebee. I spent my last $2,000 that I had in my bank account. I didn't have money for rent the next month, and actually, it had been I had been in LA for a little while and things were not going well, even though I was doing like the Craigslist gigs or whatever. But like I mentioned, $50 like for a night is not like
It's
that's
not
not
enough.
enough, to
Yeah.
even pay for like a quarter of a dorm room. And so I thought, all right, after all these years, like maybe my parents are right. I was like just at that, breaking point. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
I should audition for a orchestra job because there was an opening in the San Diego Symphony. I grew up in San Diego, and it's a very respectable job. There's health insurance, all of that stuff. And I was living in a garage at the time. I've been living literally in a garage with no heat,
Wow,
no air conditioning.
Tina.
Yeah,
The
yeah, because like
struggle
there's
is real.
this. I mean, the struggle was real, right? And it was fine. Like I'm like, you do what you have to do, but after living there for 2 years, I'm like, okay, am I delusional? Am I crazy? Like, maybe this is all this is going to be, and I should just, come back down to earth. Maybe other people were right that they told me, like, what are you doing? You're like wasting your talent on the classical cello. You could be blah blah blah. So I'm like, all right. I started preparing for the audition like a good cello girl, preparing all the material, and I thought before I just give up, on my dream, I have to like have something to show for it, even if it's just to show my grandkids one day, or I don't know, just to have for myself when I'm 80 years old, be like, haha, look at me when I was
When
in
you're
my
80, you'll
20s.
look like you're 30 still, so it's
Oh,
cool.
like Um, and I thought, okay. And so was also very much thanks to some friends that I had met, who contributed like a lot of their like filming it for I don't know if it was for free, but at a highly discounted rate,
Hmm.
finding locations for free. Like so many people that I'm still super grateful for it to this day, right? Because I think like relationships, like of course that's super important. So I say I didn't network and I didn't, but it was more of just I think naturally, like when you're doing things from an authentic place,
Hmm.
and you're a good person, you do everything openly and honestly, I think just naturally, like similar energy kind of gravitates together. And so it took me about 6 months to figure this out because to try to do a music video with such a small budget, and I had a very big vision, delusional vision. It didn't end up being as I wanted 100 extras. They were like, okay,
That's when you
Tina,
got to
just
ask
calm
all your
down.
friends, Tina, at that point. You're just like, what's everybody doing tonight? You want to come hang out
Well,
and be
I
built?
I mean, okay, this is gonna sound kind of like maybe even narcissistic, and it's not. I want to be very clear. It's not about narcissism. It's about being scientifically accurate. So, queen bee, right? There's one queen bee in a hive, and so I wanted 100 male extras, naked,
Oh,
covered in gold body paint. That's
wow,
like
Tina,
that's
this is a
what
lot to ask for here.
and of course, I think I found like two, and also because they're men, and for
Yeah,
them to be naked, crawling over each
yeah,
other, most straight
yeah.
guys, like even friends, were like, I don't know, I'm gonna sit this one out. So we skipped that part. We skipped it, right? Um, we did make a really like life size, not life size, human size, like paper mache beehive thing that I came out of. But what I mean, it was fun. So it was um something that we did together as a team, everyone who worked on it, and then everyone who worked on it did it just for the passion too. It's like, okay, this is a really weird, dark experimental thing. Let's just do it. And again, for me, it was my last hurrah before I pick up my acoustic cello and hope that I get a position in orchestra so I can buy groceries.
Yeah.
And after after the video came out, um, it was like a week later. Oh, there was a small hope in the back of my mind. I thought like, okay, maybe there's a small chance that like Marilyn Manson or Metallica or Rammstein or any like heavy
Any of
music
them.
band or artist, maybe, yeah, anyone, please, like maybe they would see it and be like, oh, okay, maybe we should incorporate cello into our band or some, I don't know, some kind of thing, that I was hoping for. And that did not happen back then, right? It didn't happen. But within the first week that the video came out, I mentioned like Hans, so Hans Zimmer,
Hmm.
John Debney, he was working on Iron Man 2, Brian Tyler, I think it was Fast and the Furious. I don't remember what movie it was so long ago, but they all reached out and said, "Oh, can you like play on my soundtrack? Like that's really like it's different what you're doing because it's like heavy and it sounds like a guitar, but it's a cello, right?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yay, work!"
Yes, the
So
beehive worked.
so
I
like
didn't need 100 naked men in gold. I just needed me.
and like I think it was great, and like I had done a little bit of session work before, but in the orchestras, in like the cello section, which was great, and I was grateful to get whatever work I could get doing that, but not as like me, not as like Tina doing my whatever weirdo crazy thing that I do. And it again, it was like unintentional branding, right? I
Hmm.
wasn't thinking of it like I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna brand myself as this, and it was just like, okay, I'm gonna give up. And before I do that, I just need to like do this for myself, right? Or at least to show people
Hmm.
that I'm not
Well,
just
this was
all
like a
talk, talk,
Hail
talk.
Mary essentially for you too. I
Yeah,
mean, you put
yeah,
everything, all of your last funds into this, and within a
yeah,
week,
yeah,
which is incredible, that's when you started getting
yeah.
feedback and people reaching out to you.
Yeah, yeah, like after, and again, it's timing and luck in that it was so early on that there honestly wasn't any competition, or like very little, right? So
Yeah.
it was easier to have like a monopoly on the market.
Hmm.
And like now, I do have to say, I do feel like people who play electric string instruments, especially, it's not anything is possible, everything is possible, but it is a little harder because now
Hmm.
there's like
So many.
tens of thousands,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But I think just for me, it was the timing in that it was something that hadn't been explored. And then, I did that, and I didn't think about how people would judge me. Like my parents, they were so mad that they didn't talk to me for 2 years. I mean, we didn't talk much
Oh
anyway,
my
but they didn't.
gosh.
because the video was
What?
so like it's rated 18 and over, so you have to sign in on
Yeah.
YouTube. It's not like pornographic or anything, but it's
Yeah.
artistic, right?
I mean,
And
listen, if I'm
um
in a bathing suit, my
yeah.
dad's over here like, take it down. You know, I was
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
Dad, come
yeah.
on.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember they were like, "Oh my gosh, like we're gonna lose all of our students. Like it's so shameful what you've done and blah blah blah." And like it was that, and I did get like
Wow.
obviously some negative feedback, a lot. Okay, a lot. I'm just being nice here. A lot of negative feedback
Yep.
from other people, like colleagues, or I guess you would call it. And it is what it is, right? Like so, I was just like, okay, whatever.
I think
Like I
that's
already
what
did
makes
it,
you so
and
great, though, Tina, is that like you
mhm.
literally are so headstrong and fearless. And when you want to do something, you just jump right in. You're not thinking about the perception and thought process of what's going on opinion wise from everyone else around you. It's what
Right,
basically resembles who you are as a person, your interests, and how you want to frame
yeah.
things artistically, which is what makes you so unique out of so many people. And you can't, that's something you can't teach. I mean, there's just, it's really something that's unique to you. And it sounds like you've always just been 10 steps ahead of everyone with, collaborations to just being on social media taking selfies. And
Oh,
I mean, it's
oops.
like, it's crazy. It's like you knew the future before the future happened.
I didn't, girl, I did not know anything. I had no clue what I was doing. When people are like, I'm like, I don't think anyone knows what they're doing. We're just like moving forward and trying to do stuff. And then when it works, people are like, wow, like,
Yeah. How
how
did
did
you
you,
know?
I'm like,
You were
I
like
don't
Marty
know.
McFlying it back to the future over here, Tina. Did you like span far ahead into the future and then come back to us and you're
No,
like, this is gonna work?
no, I woke up every day going, huh? Like, what am I doing? But I think the big thing is you act, right? Don't
Hmm.
overthink, don't overplan. So many musicians, like when I talk to friends who maybe they're session musicians, but they want to also be like an artist, so they release their own music, do their own thing, and they're like, oh, but like this is not good enough, or you redo the mix like 10 times, it's never gonna be perfect, right?
Yeah.
So it's better. I mean, if you listen to some of my early releases, please don't, guys, if you're watching this,
You know what that's
like
great
on,
though,
on
Tina? I
streaming.
love that you have those because even like my older videos, I love going back because you get to see how far you've come. And you're like, wow, this is kind of
Yes.
like the roadmap of my life.
It it is, and you see how you grow, and like you have to
Yeah.
start from that. So I feel like a lot of people, because of fear of like, maybe judgment or negative comments or like, oh, it's not good enough.
Hmm.
Of course, it's not going to be good enough. Like, why would it be good enough when you start? That's like bad. Do you not want to grow, right? So I think sometimes like the shittier it is, the better, because then you have like
Yeah.
more of a, a runway to move up. And I think maybe that is like the biggest like personality trait where I just like do stuff. And okay, sometimes I probably should think about things a little bit more, and as I match rate, now I think I'm a little more measured, but before I'm just like, boom, done. I want to do this, I do it. Like people are like planning how to do it, I'm already doing it. I have no clue
Yeah.
what I'm doing, but I'm doing it, right? So I think that's really, really important. So it's kind of like efficiency and speed of like how you execute things,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's incredible what you've been able to accomplish. Definitely have to jump into the whole start to Hans connecting with you and how you
Yes.
became a part of his team.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, with Hans, I think we have been working together for now, what, 16, 15, 16 years.
All because
And
of the
as I,
honeybee, the queen
because,
bee.
because of
I'm
because
forever
of
going
the
to think
bee
of you as a
video.
honeybee now.
Oh. Um, and yeah, like and at that time, like of course I knew about the scoring industry, but I actually didn't know who he was because I just wasn't like my goal was not to work in soundtracks. I wanted to
Hmm.
play heavy metal. Like that was my
Yeah.
dream. That was my goal. And so, I remember his assistant reached out and asked if I was like available to come into his studio. And I remember like I think I was like shopping. I was doing, and I said, not to be rude, but I'm like, who is this? How did you get my phone number? And he's like, oh, I'm calling from like Hans Zimmer's office. I'm like,
Yeah.
who? Like what?
Who's that? I got to
And
Google this
yeah,
guy.
and
Hang
I
on one
didn't
second.
no, I didn't even bother Googling. I didn't know what was
Yeah.
going on, but I did go to the studio, and I remember the first time I met him, they were having lunch in like the back building. And Guy Ritchie was there. Now Guy Ritchie I
Oh, wow.
recognized, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, maybe this is like a bigger thing, right? Like
Yeah.
a little step above my Craigslist gigs.
Just a little bit. Just,
Uh,
I don't know if I've
Yeah.
ever imagined seeing Hans on Craigslist, but hey, that'd be a great story.
Um, and actually, I did get a gig once with Courtney Love. She found me on Craigslist on
Oh
one of
my
my,
gosh, Courtney
yeah, I played a,
Love.
yeah, she was on Craigslist. Like, so you never know. I mean, you never know. Like,
That's such a cool
people.
story.
Yeah, and that was before Han, so that was way before. But so yeah, I went in, and then he said we're working on Sherlock Holmes. So that wasn't electric cello, that was on the acoustic cello. And that's how it started. So we did Sherlock Holmes, Inception, like a bunch of other movies, and
Just
then there
little
was a little
movies
bit of
like
a,
Inception, nobody's heard
oh,
of
sorry, I
that
didn't mean to
before.
say it
No, no,
like that.
no,
Like
just kidding.
projects, various
These
projects.
projects, just iconic.
And, and then I did take a couple years away from that because I joined the Cirque du Soleil, because they also saw that video and some of my, because I started doing more videos in different styles, like also classical. And so they offered me like a solo position in Michael Jackson The Immortal World Tour, which is like an arena tour, and I never performed in arenas before. And I think
Wow.
it was such a great experience to for training and how to
Hmm.
project. And I remember I loved it because in the classical world, like the way that I play, honestly, I don't think it's inappropriate. Like I just, maybe I'm just emotional in the way I play. It's not like anything
When you
crazy, right? I'm
play,
not jumping out
Tina,
of my
it's almost
chair.
like a possession has taken over your body. It's like you have this
Oh,
alter ego, and it's so mesmerizing to watch you perform on stage.
oh, thank you. I do feel like I'm like channeling, right, something, and not to sound
Yeah.
too frou-frou, but it's a spiritual process, right? And like with the classical cello, it's kind of like that. I don't feel as free with the classical cello just because of I think all the associations around that in myself internally, and that's something I've worked on now, and it feels better. But even back then, like the way that I played like certain pieces of music, people like again like teachers and other classical musicians are like, oh, you're too like dramatic, you play too emotionally. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't want to just sit here and just play like a robot. Not that they played like robots, but or
Yeah.
for everyone to play the same way. It's very much like you
Hmm.
have to play it this way. And I'm like, what's
Yeah.
the point? There's like 1,000 people graduating just this year and they all play the same. Like that's really
Yeah.
that's really kind of like boring, right?
It's like with any
And
solo artist that you would take and plop on a stage by themselves. If they were just a robot
right.
in a massive theater, like people would be bored out of their
Yeah.
minds. But when you bring life to your
Yeah.
body, even though you're playing an
Right.
instrument, I mean, it's a outworldly kind of experience that we're feeling with you. Again, something you
Yeah,
can't
I think
teach.
yeah, I mean, and honestly, I'm like actually
Mhm.
naturally very introverted and like very I had like major stage fright, like panic more of, right? Like it's major anxiety, and
Wow.
I think like it was kind of forced out of me just because my parents like forced me also in addition to practicing to performing, doing competitions, and again these old videos of me, literally I would walk on stage with like my head down because I'm so like panicked to look at people, and like I couldn't speak in public. It was really but having gone through that, I'm like, human beings are, anyone is capable, honestly, of anything with enough
Doing
like
it, yeah.
repetition and like just, but it's hard, and I think if I didn't have anyone to force me, I probably wouldn't have
Yeah.
done it. But all of that is to say, so I came from this environment where I'm like, everything, Tina, you're too much, you're ridiculous, you're weird, and then
You've
I
got to
joined the
be.
circus. Yeah, but then when I joined the circus, and I remember like in the creation period where we were putting the show together and it's like in a huge arena, it was the opposite. I mean, I'm around these incredible like acrobats and dancers and literally clowns and aerialists, and they're like, more, that's not enough. I'm like, "Oh, really? Like
Wow.
I'm not,
You
no,
found
they're
your
like, so you have to,
tribe.
yeah, and I think like being meeting all these professional performers, not just like yeah, again, it's a totally separate thing to be a studio musician. Like when you're recording, you shouldn't move around too much because a microphone is sedentary, and if you're just going, "Wah,"
Oh,
it's going to sound
yeah.
crazy, right? So it's a totally different art form. But when you're performing, a performer is very different. It's a different thing, and I think those 2 years from 2011 to 2013 that I spent with the circus traveling around, that was really formative for me, like I think with performance, right? And then then I came back to LA and blah 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 blah, all of the stuff happened, playing with different people, working with
Hmm.
Hans, and so that's kind of how how it started, but I guess the
How do you even
seed.
balance your
Yeah.
life as well with performing with Hans? I mean, that's a
Oh,
full
yeah.
time gig, but you're also managing and doing
Yeah.
other things on top of that.
Yeah, it actually, so the last tour that I did with Hans was earlier this year, 2025. And the previous one, so like the recent one they just did, I actually did not go on. And so after 15, 16 years, and also because I'm turning 40 in October, so in a couple months,
Still so
I
crazy
thought,
that you're turning 40, Tina. I'm just like, are you
oh,
sure? We need to
oh,
get a different birth
I,
certificate. I think you read it wrong.
no, and like I mean I love it. I feel like 40 is a new, okay,
It's the
20
new
might be a little
30.
dramatic, but new
It's that's what
30,
everybody's
right?
saying. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
new livelihood. But you give such
It
young, fresh
is.
energy.
Oh, thank you. I think I was like an old lady when I was younger. I was like a total granny, so it went backwards, right?
When you're 10 years old, right? Got to be in bed by
Yeah.
this time. Can't stay out too
Yeah.
late. Got to watch eating too
Yeah.
much candy.
Yeah. And you know, it's like yes, you're right. Touring with Hans and with other artists that I've toured with, it takes a lot of energy. I mean, it's wonderful, right? But what happens when you allocate all of your life energy you don't have time for your own stuff, right? And so
Hmm.
I had been like I was sewn. I was signed, not sewn. I was signed to Sony. That'd be really weird. To
Sewn to
Sony
them.
for.
I can never leave.
I mean, I guess in a way, like
Yeah, they have to
contract.
unstitch you. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah. I was signed to them, sorry, from 2016 until 2022, I think was when I left. And at that time, I did my Game On album, which is all video game music, a bunch of other stuff. It was a great relationship, but now this is really going to go full circle all the way back to like, Tina with the wow, heavy metal, right? That kind of thing. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've been okay, wonderful. I'm signed to Sony. I never thought I'd be signed to like a major label. That wasn't even on my radar, right? To do this or to tour with Hans or be in the circus or any of this stuff. But I realized like I didn't choose any of this, right? I didn't
Hmm.
even choose cello. And I thought, what is it? Because there were moments like, of course, it gets overwhelming. I think like
Hmm.
burnout is a real thing that like I think more people should talk about, and that leading to depression and just like
Hmm.
because when you like work so hard all the time, nonstop, like everything else in life kind of goes by the wayside. And that's like a whole separate conversation. But I just thought, all right, I feel like there's definitely something off and off balance, and also like artistically and creatively, as wonderful as like doing that Cirque show after 360 shows in a row. Like I was like, I can't, I am going to throw up if I like
That's
play.
crazy.
It was
360 shows in a
60
row.
shows, maybe 62, but 360 is a nice even number.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
one essentially a day
it's
on average. That's
it,
insane.
yeah, over
Uh,
the course of 2
You're not
years, so
allowed to get sick,
I would
right?
say.
You're like, you cannot
I
get
I
sick.
didn't I didn't miss any shows except for at the very end. I actually had some like neck issues, probably just from headbanging too much and playing too hard. But for 2 years, I didn't miss any shows. And then also touring with Hans, like as much I do love the music, I love the people, but it's a lot to
Takes a
do
toll
that for
on your
that many years.
body. Yeah.
Yeah, on my body, but also like creatively. So I thought like
Hmm.
what was my original plan? And of course, like I also have to mention, I think aside from the musical stuff, like for me, like financial freedom has always been a really big focus. So I joke that I'm,
Hmm.
half robot, half, entrepreneur, very, very
Hmm.
financially focused, and the other half is like an artist. But during all of that, I was very careful with my savings. I mean, living in a garage was not, I guess since I started there, like I was able to, even having a tiny studio apartment in a really bad neighborhood to me was not a big deal because I'm like, I'm saving for the future. I'm taking
Hmm.
that money, I'm investing in stocks, right? And so I invested, started doing that as soon as I started making a little bit of money that I had extra, for
Hmm.
from the circus. And I think I reached a point like only in the last few years where I realized like I actually don't, not that I never have to work. I mean, but like, I mean, like I
You're
looked at my
comfortable.
financials. Yeah, I looked at my financials and I'm like, okay, I actually have the freedom and I have like maybe a little bit of a feeling of safety, right? And when you're so used to operating in like desperation mode, just because that's where I came from, it's always like, oh God, I have to, like, oh, what's my next thing? Or like just constantly in this panic. And then, and when you're in that mode, I think you can't fully be in touch with yourself as an artist or whatnot. And I realized I'm like, I have to do my own thing. Like I'm turning 40 this year, this year. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
um, if not now, when? Like, when am I gonna tour with my own band? When am I
Mm-hmm.
gonna, and so so now I've stopped touring with Hans. And I brought a friend in. She actually replaced me when I left Cirque du Soleil as well. So like we've known each other for many, many years, and like she's wonderful and she's very happy to do it. And for me, I'm very happy that now I have the time and the energy and the mental capacity, right, to do
Mm-hmm.
my own music. And I'm super excited. I finally was able to start my tribal music project, which is it's kind of like Viking music, but a Asian version. So it's
That was
my
my mascot in
idea.
college, Tina. We were the Vikings, so that's really cool.
Oh, I love Viking culture. I love like Viking music, but I thought like, all right, I don't want to like culturally appropriate like backwards like white people
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Vikings, right? But I thought like, oh, like I like in the East Asian region, and so this is totally fantasy, but I'm like, okay, this is music from 1.7 million years ago. This is pre-Homo sapien, pre-Neanderthal, and
Mm-hmm.
it's the oldest fossil humanoid pre-human fossil that was found in modern day China was dated to be 1.7 million years old. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. I wonder what music back then sounded like, right? I
Mm-hmm.
want to do this. I want to get a custom instrument made out of a saber-toothed tiger skull, out of a dinosaur skull, out of like all of these like weird ideas. And like, I'm like, oh my God, I can do whatever I want. Like, it's like, and I think I just was like, I didn't realize that until literally like 2 years ago, because I got to a point where like I was doing all these things, but honestly inside I was unhappy. I was really like, okay, I've been doing the same thing over and over and over,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm grateful for it. Like again, not to be
Mm-hmm.
ungrateful, but why do I feel dead inside? Like seriously,
Yeah,
why
it's
do I
almost like
not
you hit a
feel?
pinnacle of growth, and it was like you couldn't grow
Yeah,
anymore, so you've got to move on
yeah,
and do something different.
yeah,
Which
yeah.
for
It
some
really, it
people,
really
that's
was
totally
that.
fine. They hit a point where they're
Right.
comfortable, they're set, they don't have to
Yeah,
worry about anything, and they can just kind of
yeah,
routinely keep continuing what they're
yeah.
doing on
Just
a
keep
day to day
going.
basis. I'm very similar to
Yeah,
you, though, where I'll work a
right,
job and it's kind of like, okay, this is the highest position I can be at, and now what? Okay,
right.
I need to leave now
Yeah,
because I can't grow anymore.
yeah.
You got to
And
keep
it's
challenging
scary.
yourself.
Yeah, and it's really scary because for like I started feeling it like some years ago, but I'm like, oh, it's like again, it's too scary. It's like safety and all of that stuff, and like being attached to like a certain title or association that people have with you. But I do have to say now that I've been only in the last year. So this new music video, Earth, which is like the first, not technically the second, but the first music video of this tribal project. Is called the Water Phoenix, which is like my spirit animal.
Oh, I
Doesn't
like
make any sense. It's
that.
like, why is there a
No, it
phoenix
sounds
coming out of
good
the water?
though. The water
Um,
phoenix.
yeah, that
A little
video I
Jean
shot it.
Grey, action in there, but yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And I'm seeing in this, it's like a totally different
Wait,
playing
you're
the saber-tooth tiger.
singing.
I'm seeing like a cave woman.
Wow. Oh, I
Boy,
love this.
we shot the video in a prehistoric dripstone cave in the middle of Germany, like underground, like it's with like, where they actually had fossils and stuff. And so I think it's like a artistic exploration time for me. And it hasn't been announced yet. Some of the dates have been announced, but I'm doing like a month and a half tour this fall, a solo tour with my own band. So like doing the electric cello stuff, but
Oh.
also the Water Phoenix project. So kind of like blended together. So it's like a tribal music and metal, right? Metal
Mm-hmm.
cinematic, a little bit of gaming music like Skyrim or whatnot, but all of the covers that I do from soundtracks are done in like a heavy style. So that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of blends all the worlds together. And I'm playing 4 shows in Europe on the Full Metal cruises, and then in China, doing like a 21 date tour, and that hasn't been announced yet. It's been announced in China. I mean, I guess what's the point of announcing it in the U.S.,
Yeah.
but it will be soon.
Are
And
you
I have
coming
to
to the
say,
US though, I hope?
I hope so. Like, let's see. It's like I feel like in America though, like the audience for metal and like especially tribal music or Viking music, not that it doesn't exist, but it is
Mm-hmm.
honestly microscopic, like compared to Europe and compared to, but still. So I think starting there and then building from there. I mean, I don't know what the future holds, but
I will be
just the
front row,
fact that,
Tina. Just let me know. I will
oh,
bring
thank you.
everyone.
Thank you. And I think I feel like yes, it is stressful because when you're doing everything like yourself, right? Like
Yeah.
and all the like logistical things, productions, permits, visas, flights. I mean, it's just so much, but I do have to say it feels good and I'm grateful that like I made this decision, right? I left
Mm-hmm.
Sony because like they were like I was like, "Oh, I want to do tribal cave people music." And they said, "What now?" What?
They said, sorry, say
They're
that
like,
again. Did we hear you
no, they're like,
right?
no. And I'm like,
Translation?
okay, if yeah, I'm like, if I don't do that, can I do like heavy metal, industrial metal? Like, no, Tina, like you're signed to Sony Masterworks. Like I understand from a business perspective why
Mm-hmm.
they're like, that is way too experimental. There is no audience for it because it hasn't been done, right?
Yeah.
And I think it kind of, I'm like back to where I started. I'm like, I know it hasn't been done, but like that's the
Mm-hmm.
whole point. It's like I want to do it and see what it can be. And like, I have no expectations. If it doesn't work, great. You know, at least I did it. But it's kind of, it came from like the same kind of genuine, yeah, it came from the same genuine place as Queen Bee. I think that's what is like completely full circle where I don't know. I just have this like urge to do it. And so like, I'm very excited for
I think you're
these upcoming
foretelling the
shows
future
this
again,
fall.
Tina. I think you
I mean,
will.
I
We'll be
don't know.
talking
I
10
don't know.
years from now about this whole interview, and I'm just going to laugh and be like, I told you you can foretell the future.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I hope so, right? We can will it. But yeah, so that's kind of like where I am currently. Oh, beep beep.
I know. Welcome to living in New York City, right? It's not a city
Yeah.
without some sound around us. You're also doing a lot in the gaming world. I wanted to kind of jump into that because I had no clue all of the stuff you've done from the gaming side of things.
Right, right. Yeah, actually last week I was in Saudi Arabia playing the opening
Yes.
ceremony for the Esports World Cup, which was super cool. And
So
so I played
cool.
the main theme, and then I also played on the remix that Alesso did, and it was my first time collaborating with a DJ actually, and not just any DJ. I mean, it was
He's
amazing
so
that it was
talented.
yeah, yeah, and so nice, such a nice person. And so that was really surreal. It was such an incredible, like high level production, you know, of course, because it was funded by the royal family of
Ah.
Saudi Arabia. And so, yeah, yeah, with a lot of incredible, and that was great. And I've been very lucky also to work on, like you mentioned, some of these other game soundtracks. One of the games that I worked on recently is one of the tournament games. It's still going on now. I think it's like 2 months long or something, but
Yeah.
is
It's kind of crazy,
Call of
right? 2 months.
Duty. It is.
It's
It
like
is.
insane.
Uh, yeah, it's amazing. And so Call of Duty Black Ops 6 was one of the games, so I recorded on that. And then actually, I don't, can I even say this? Oh, well, I'm just gonna say it, like, you know, oops. So next on Tuesday next week, I'm recording for Black Ops 7, which
Wow.
and I love like Jack, the composer Jack Wall. I love working with him on these titles specifically, because everything's heavy. It's like heavy music, right? It's like battle
Yeah.
music, and so I get to go full on like Shredalicious. So,
Got to get
so
ourselves in game mode over here, ready to make our kills.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And yeah, and just all the other games that I've been able to work on. It's yeah, it's just been really fun. And like I mentioned before about playing in different genres and doing different styles, I think as far as like a day job as it can go, like I really am grateful and excited about it because every time it's something completely different, right? Like genre wise, music wise, and I like that little bit of like, I don't want to say fear, but like when you sit down as a session musician, you're expected to play the music perfectly from the first
Mm,
take, right? To be able to
yeah.
sight read. And of course, that's high pressure. Like, oh God, if I
Yeah.
suck, like it's over, right?
No slip
And
ups. It's kind of crazy. I'm always
no,
like, do you just
yeah,
not wear lotion on your fingers? Like, what if your fingers slip? Like, I always think about that. I'm like,
yeah.
the pressure must be so intense.
Yeah, or if you're like sweaty or whatnot. But
Yeah.
I do think after a while, like you acclimate to it. But I mean, on occasion, if the music is like really hard, where it's impossible to be able to play it by sight reading, like composers or clients will send it to me ahead of time. But for the most part, like it's really exciting to actually pull up a piece of music, something you've never heard before, or like, okay,
Hmm.
go, and then you just record. And I think that is why I haven't grown like tired of like being I mean, you call it, I like that collaborator or like a
Yes.
hired session musician, because it's always different. So I do like when things are not sedentary, when they're not just the same thing over and over and
Over
over.
and over.
Right?
Yeah,
So
you're so well
yeah.
rounded. I mean, you've gone in so many different directions. It almost feels limitless where I can see you just tapping musically into so many different places in the world, and
Yeah,
gaming is just
sometimes that's
another
a
component.
problem. Sometimes that's a problem. I have to say,
There's only
like
one
when
of
you
you,
do too
right?
much, yeah, I'm like, okay, I really have to like, because I genuinely like passionate and excited about stuff. So when people ask, yes, 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 oh my God, like I'm like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. But yeah, like I just released last week. Oh my gosh, or earlier this week, I released an album with Ricky Kej and an incredible Nobel Peace Laureate, and it's in the
Wow.
world music like style. And so like I am doing like a lot of different projects at the same time. But that's the process that I'm doing right now, like on a personal level of
Hmm.
really like like I said, I stopped touring with Hans. I was a major, major like energy and time thing, which was it was
Hmm.
incredible. But now I have more energy to allocate to my own stuff. But then I realized even my own stuff, like I think it's a little too much. Like it's not. I
Yeah.
have to say it's not good if you wake up every morning and you're like, like
My schedule's
the
insane.
to-do list. Yeah, and that's not healthy because also in the end,
Yeah.
like whatever we do for work or for like we're still humans, right? And I do think it's
Yeah.
important to also live as like a person. So
Have a little vacay time, go to the beach once in a while.
yeah, that's I
Touch
mean
grass, as they say.
I mean I like I love touching grass. I mean I know like it's a saying, but like just the
Yeah.
feeling of like my hands and my feet like in grass. I don't even know the last time I did that. I'm gonna go do
Yeah,
that.
you've got to
Thank
go
you.
do that.
To go ground, right? And so yeah, just finding the balance. But yeah, sometimes it is a little tricky when you're kind of like, what do they say, jack of all trades, like kind of master of some, right? And but
Hmm.
it becomes a lot when you try to do too much. So I'm learning to delegate. I finally got an assistant, like, because I was doing like literally everything myself, and I still mostly do everything myself. I started working with like a management company to not they're co-managing me with myself. I know I have control issues, but just like
It's still
gradually
crazy to me,
trying
Tina,
to
that
like
you do like everything behind the scenes for yourself. It's like insane. I always thought you had like a team of 50 or something just doing everything behind the scenes for you.
I felt like when I went to Saudi last week for this for the esports thing, and Post Malone was there. Of course, I don't even know how big his entourage was, but he's him.
They have huge
50 people,
entourages.
like huge. And then like the other most of the other artists, I would say except for one other artist, they all brought like management team, maybe I didn't
Yeah.
ask, but like probably family or partners. And I went by myself. I mean, I had a couple friends with me who are producers who worked on it, so I wasn't like alone per se,
Hmm.
but I went by myself and I did feel I was like that's kind of not even like weird in like a bad way, but um just honestly,
You're
I
just
actually
kind
felt
of
it made me feel like
badass.
no, I mean, okay,
That's-
thank you, but
I
at
look
the
at it
same
as
time,
in
I
like you're a
actually
strong woman.
oh, thank you, but you know what? This is gonna sound weird. It's like people tell me that, but like I kind of don't want to be a strong woman. Like I am, but I don't want to like have to be that. And actually seeing like it was like it wasn't like bad or anything. It was good. Everyone was super friendly. I had a great time, but it actually made me feel like kind of lonely, And I'm like, oh my gosh, like for my whole life, like I think because I started having to do everything myself, just because I
Hmm.
hadn't. No one wanted to help or I couldn't afford. And it just became like kind of my go-to. And that's just how I operate. Like I have to
Hmm.
do everything myself. I have to,
Hmm.
and it's exhausting, right? And
It's
like
probably
even like
hard to
going,
ask for help as well when, it's
yeah,
like for me
yeah,
growing up, that was my
right,
biggest lesson I had to learn is know when to ask for help. It's
right,
okay. Coming from a team sport
yeah,
though, I think I got that
right.
understanding of, working as
It's
a
like a group
team.
effort.
Yes, exactly. More people can kind of help and where your weaknesses
Yeah,
are, you give those projects to
yeah,
people who can do it better and, it makes you a better person.
yeah, and like building a team or whatnot. And so after that experience, just like a few days ago or last week, I am currently like negotiating myself, but with another, I'll just say a corporate event client person thing big, not a person, it's a big company, for something in December. And I thought, you know what? Like I should. So I asked, I said, okay, I'm going to need at least 3 flights. So I'm going to bring a tech where I shouldn't be schlepping all my own gear myself because I can really barely carry it. And then an assistant or a travel companion. And I sent the email to them and they emailed me back yesterday. It's like, oh yeah, no problem. I'm like, ask and you
Yeah.
shall receive. I just
Yeah.
never asked for it. I'm like, I have to do everything alone. And yeah, that's not healthy. I think that's my biggest. I'm still learning a lot of lessons. I'm like basically
Yeah.
learning how to be a human now because I spent
Yeah.
the last like all my life like just working, 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 and now I'm like, okay, how do I like take care of me, right? Also, so
Yeah. I
mhm.
always say you don't get what you don't ask for, too. So in life, it's kind of
Right.
like, can I have a mini entourage? And they're like, of course. And then you see
Yeah,
other
yeah,
people
like
who
it's
they're like, so I need 50 people. If you could do 50 flights, and we're going to need
okay.
50
That
hotel
would stress me
rooms.
out. Oh
And
no, no,
I
no, that
have
would be
heard
way too
horror
much,
stories
right?
from certain artists. So for you, you were like the lowest maintenance for them, a breath of fresh air. They're like, oh my gosh, thank God it's Tina. This is going to be so much
Yeah,
easier, you know?
yeah, yeah. So like I still like a streamline efficiency, but I think it's good to have like a couple of or a few. If you talk to me in like a year, I'm like, I have a 30-person entourage. No,
Yeah.
no, no. But I think it's good. And again with like trying to balance everything as you mentioned earlier, like that is difficult, and that's something that I'm working on. I was married once in my late 20s. Oops. I
Ah.
mean, it was fine. There was nothing bad happened, but he proposed after 3 weeks. I did not know the
Oh,
guy. We didn't know each
wow.
other.
Three
It was,
weeks. That was
it
fast.
was,
Love
you
at
know what
first
I
sight
said
kind
about
of
like,
thing.
well, yeah, yeah, but like, you remember what I said about like, don't think, just act?
Yeah. That was one of those
That
moments.
principle, yeah, it was one of those moments, but I learned that like the way that I approach business and career doesn't work so well when it comes to personal life. So that and whatnot. But I think now, again, like trying to carve out more time for myself, even to just like be here at home, which I've
Yeah.
like before I was like sometimes gone for 7 or 8 months out of the year. Like that's not, I mean, it's great, but
You
it's
got to tell
not.
the viewers about
um,
pizza too. How is pizza without you at home?
Yes,
My
pizza.
goodness,
Oh,
your
where
cute
where is she?
dog.
Oh, she's asleep behind me right now. So luckily, I have an amazing babysitter, and it was actually the breeder that I got her from. She's a golden doodle, and they have like I think 7 or 8 dogs of their own that are pets, and they're like Bernedoodles, golden doodles, and she loves it there. So that
Oh,
like that makes me feel better.
yeah.
Like previously when I had like I'm currently single, but previously when I've been in relationships, like luckily I was with like a very very nice person for last
Mm-hmm.
few years that was able to babysit her. And so yeah, I mean I think that's also the reason I haven't had like a child, right? Which I'm not sure if
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I want that. Like I think it depends if it's the right situation. But I
Mm-hmm.
think again now it's like it is like I've been having like a epiphany moments, like moment after moment, just trying to like again like how to pick my life, if that makes sense, like to choose, because I
Completely,
feel like
yeah.
again so much of everything hasn't been from what do I want, because I didn't have the luxury of that, right? So I just kind of
Mm-hmm.
go along with it, and you have to keep going, you have to make more money, you have to do more shows, you have to say yes to everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't leave much room for like Tina. But I'm like, who?
Yeah.
Who's Tina?
It's in
Like
a
what do
weird
I
way,
even
it's like
like?
you have your
Yeah.
freedom for once,
Yeah,
and
yeah, I'm learning to do that, and like, yeah, I have so much music like right now to learn for Wacken, the world's biggest metal festival, which I'm very excited about. So I'm
wow.
playing like 5 different things there, not with my band, but just by myself and as a guest with a few bands. And so it's a lot of material to learn. But my best friend, her name is also Tina. We've been best friends since we were like 12. And we don't see each other that often because she lives in San
Mm-hmm.
Diego. She has 2 kids. She's busy. She's
Mm-hmm.
working and whatnot. And we have planned like a spa weekend. So we're gonna go meet at a spa half of Saturday and on Sunday. And the old me, like really, like the old me would have been like, I can't. Sorry, I have to
Good.
like. Because like for years, I really like I don't want to say I feel bad about it, and she's understanding, but like for years I didn't even see her because like or anyone
Wow.
because I was just so obsessed with my and maybe in
Work.
the building phase again, yeah, but like now I was like, you know what, that's fine, I'm gonna figure it out. Like things, you always figure things
Yeah.
out. Yeah, even if I'm like like air celloing on the airplane on the way to Germany like
Yeah.
trying to learn this stuff, so I'm like,
What's that
no,
crazy
I'm
girl
gonna
doing on the plane?
I'm gonna meet my best friend and we're gonna go to the spot. I'm not gonna think about work and we're just gonna have fun. It's gonna be fine, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and like just like carving time out for stuff. So that's like my current, my current situation, current journey.
Tina, wow, you are such a true inspiration. I mean, the first time I saw you perform with Hans and seeing you perform Wonder Woman, I mean, I was just like, this is one of the
Oh,
coolest human beings that I'm so fortunate to just be able to experience and see firsthand. But to find out all these different layers about you just makes you such an incredible person inside and out. I mean, and to hear all
oh,
of the
thank you.
future aspirations that you've got going on. I mean, again, just truly inspiring, and everything that you do, it just turns into a success story, which, not many can say that. And what I love about you is
Not everything, not
not
everything,
everything. Well, not everything
not everything.
necessarily, but a lot of
Okay.
components of your life have been these
Yeah,
amazing success
yeah,
stories, and and those failures too in between are kind of what make us stronger as well.
yeah.
And also just the fact that you're taking on these different paths where people are like, you can't do this, and you're just like, I'm gonna do
Mhm,
it anyways. It's cool. You don't like
mhm.
this, I'm just
Yeah,
gonna do me.
yeah.
And it's honestly, it's very rare to meet individuals who are fearless in that sense of like, I'm just going to do what's right for me in this moment in time. And I'm really
Mhm.
excited to see this new journey that you're on, Tina. This is really cool.
Thank you.
And I hope that you come to the US and we can give our audience a shout out about a tour hopefully with your band out here, and we're going to bring the
I
the
would love
tribal
that.
Viking music. Maybe you can perform in a yurt. That would be so cool actually.
That would be super cool.
A
Yes,
yurt
yes. Yeah,
performance would be epic.
yeah. Yeah, a cave, a yurt, like experiential type of stuff would be amazing.
Yes, that would be so cool.
Yeah.
I feel like we're coming up with some
Yeah.
business concepts already here. I'm like, how can we do a
Perfect.
yurt? It's like instead of a hive, we're gonna convert it into a really cool yurt. Second
Yeah.
chapter, we won't have, we could, I
Yeah.
mean, now you can have naked men, and just paint them something like an only fur
You
or
know,
something.
it's funny now that well, actually, the two guys in the video, they're not naked; they're wearing fur. Actually, our costumes were made by this incredible Petra. She's incredible, and she worked on Game of Thrones, and so she actually created like our cave
Oh,
people costumes, like hand stitched, like animal skin from pre already dead animals. We did not kill any animals for
yeah.
this, but yeah, I mean, I guess they're kind of naked because they're just wearing like butt flaps and stuff. So there you
Yeah.
go. There's
Still doing the
like
same kind of themes in different ways. I love it. You're staying true to yourself.
oh gosh.
Well, Tina, thank you
Uh,
so much again for this amazing conversation. You are such an
thank
incredible
you.
human. And again, I just wish you the best in this new path in your life. And I can't wait to
Thank
see
you.
all the successes in your future.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.